Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I get a couple of videos that ask what kind of apps and what program am I following when it comes to my Bible study. And while I was busy with my Bible study this morning, I actually came to realize that there's a little bit of a change in which I read the Bible this week. I've had like thoughts pop into my head and then they keep on repeating, and I'm like, I don't know the difference between what God is telling me and what my own mind is telling me. How am I able to distinguish between the two? How do I know? Because I could tell myself anything I want to. Like, Lord, should I have that piece of cake? And I'm like, oh yes, I agree with you. Like, no, I really truly want to know and understand the difference. So I forgot about it. And this morning, for example, when I wake up, I check for a Bible little verse and I share it on my Facebook and everything. And that's my little love for the morning. And then I get up and I start my routine. And while I was scrolling, this word discernment popped up on one of the little pictures. And then today I prayed over it. So I wrote it down in my book. And then I prayed about where I should go with my art. Like, what must I do? I'm making all this art, but I don't know what to do with it. Do I turn it into something? But there's always so much of everything in the world. Like, is it going to matter? So I'm having like this conflict. And so I sit down this morning to do Bible study and I write down discernment and I want to research about what it is. So instead of me normal sit down with my Matthew and I read the last sentence that I picked up from the day before and I do a little deep dive and I make all of my notes. Whoa. This week has been different. It's been about thoughts that have been entering my mind on repeat. So I write down discernment, and it's the ability to make a smart judgment about something. And I'm like, okay, what is discernment in the Bible? Basically a spiritual gift of wisdom, right? And while I'm writing this down, another thought pops into my head again about my artwork. So I write down my thoughts about my artwork and where my negative thoughts are, where my positive thoughts are. I make the one purple because that was my thought about the Bible. But this is the thought that entered my head while I'm researching about the Bible. Because while I'm concentrating on one, I've got a thought about another. So I see that there is reference for discernment in the Bible, and it goes to Romans and it gives me a passage where it says, what is the will of God? Like, what is the will for my life? Like, where am I going with the things that I want to do? I want to know. When I ask, I can tell what is his words and what is my subconscious. I want to know the difference. And just by asking that, I feel like that in itself is a right choice because I'm not trying to lean on my own understanding. I am seeking the guidance of God to guide me because right now I really don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. If it was left up to me, I'd be starting 10 things and never finishing 10 things. And I don't want to get messy again. You know what I'm saying? So now I go to Google and they give me the Bible verses about discernment. Okay, because that was the main thing we were checking up on. And then I read the Romans, highlight. I love that. What is the will of God? What is the will of God? What is my plan? What is my purpose? How do I know and tell the difference that I'm on the right path? And then there was the verse in Kings 1, 3 verses 9. Therefore, give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. And then the passage goes on to say that when Solomon was given an option of a gift, out of everything he could have possibly chose, he could have had a kingdom, riches, down with the enemy, that will show you don't mess with me. He could have had that, but he chose wisdom, God's wisdom. Every riches and honor came with that. Because you can ask for riches, but if you don't know how to work with your money, you can lose it in a day. The fact that Solomon asked for wisdom, as I'm asking for the understanding of how to distinguish between the two, I just thought, how wild is it that it all connected? And then take a step further, I'm busy waiting for the dogs to stop yapping at the chickens there across the freaking road, yeah, full busy playing in the background, who sings Christian worship. And he stands up on the stage and he says, we're all here in the glory of God today. And he talks about God speak to us. And I'm like, Lord, how is that now? That I am like, God, I want to talk to you and I want to know the answers, but I don't want to just know the answers to have an answer. I want to know your answer. I want to have your guidance. I want to have your wisdom. I want to walk the path that you have set for me, because I've had many paths. I always said that if I ever had to write a book about my life, it would be the many paths that led me here. If I found God back then, he would have sent me on one path instead of 100 others. But I wasn't ready to fully let him in. I wasn't fully ready to surrender. And now that I am, I want to just walk in the knowing and the understanding in my heart, mind, and soul that what I am doing is right in God's eyes and for God's plan for me. And distinguishing, when I ask him a question, like, Lord, do I go left or do I go right? To know the difference between the two, to be able to break it down. So the whole point of this whole rant is that Bible study can find you on a different day for a different thing. It could just be you reading passage straight from where you left off, and then you just diving into the context to understand what you're reading. Or it could just be that thought that keeps on popping into your head that you've got to research more about, because it could be wisdom for your life. It could be that aha that you need. Another thing I want to know as well, which I feel all kind of ties in together with discernment and understanding your thoughts versus God's answers, is that moment of when something enters into my mind, obviously distinguishing what it all means. Is it just me saying, here we go again, another thought, or is it God's guidance because I don't want to disobey it? So, I want to, someone actually did a video the other day where they rocked up for Bible study and they were so excited about it. I actually followed, I can't for the life of me remember her name, but she starts off this Bible study 6:00 in the morning. She made notes for everybody and nobody showed up. And she ends off the video saying, was that a test to see it? If I was being obedient. Why am I getting emotional? So she like had this thought and she rocked up. And no one else rocked up, but she rocked up for God. She listened to him. And like, I felt so bad for her, but I was like, but she's, even though she was disappointed, she listened to God. She didn't disobey him. I'm like, I want to know the difference. I have the confidence and the faith to pursue it that I don't disobey God. So that's where I'm at. I wasn't expecting to get more emotional. I got a lot to learn. How do I listen? How do I truly listen and get that wisdom and apply it to my life so that I'm making the right choices in Jesus' name? Hope it helps. Lots of love. Bye. Bye. You know the little girl that gets out of the car and she says to her dad, bye. Bye. Bye.